Okay. So we have we need to move on to work folder two, and there is an article there I want you to read. Maybe you've already read it. It's called "Program for Love," and I want you to use that to write a critique. Now, the question is, well, what's a critique? And there are videos in work folder two that tell you what it is. I can share it really quickly here too, but it'd be really great if uh if you watched this and got this, and then I got this fan blowing here, so it's messing up, but it's cool. Um, uh, if you follow along here and then maybe go watch those videos, I think that'd be great. But also, what would be great is a 30-hour day, right? 30 hours in a day. So maybe it's just a time thing. We can't do everything we want to do. But anyway, the critique has two parts. Now, when I'm asking you to write a critique, I don't know if you've heard that term before. I'm sure we kind of all use it, but it's not necessarily a negative thing. It's not like you're criticizing somebody, right? It's you're critiquing somebody. A critique means um, it's an analysis, it's a response, it's a an informed opinion to a text or a movie or something somebody said or an event, a speech, um, an idea. You can critique an idea. You can critique an artist's body of work. It's just you have to get involved with the thing that you're going to respond to. You have to know it by reading it or watching it or listening to it, and then once you do that, then you've earned the right to have opinions about it that you share publicly. Okay, so I'm going to put it up here as as sort of a big column like this. I like to think of the work I'm building, the text, the paper I'm writing, whatever, as a column. And for this case, we're going to break it into two main parts. Okay, we're going to have section one is up here, and section two is down here. Okay, and notice that section two is bigger. It doesn't have to be this bigger, but it needs to be the larger of the two spaces because we're calling this essay a critique essay. If we were calling it a summary essay, then this is all you would need. You wouldn't need this other part. Okay, so we're going to call this a critique, and it has some other words. A response paper, or sometimes someone might, especially we writer teacher, we come up with the weirdest names for things, but we call it a free response, because we're letting you just kind of pick your own path as to how to respond to this. Sometimes it's called an analysis paper or a review paper. So a review, an analysis. There's two ways in there. Analysis. So if you've ever read a review somewhere, you've actually read a critique. Okay. Now, the thing about the critique is you're going to always have something that you're critiquing. Okay. And so if you read a review on a restaurant, they're critiquing the food. So here, you always have to deal with this thing, whatever it is. Now, in this case, you are reviewing, you're critiquing an article, right? So, it's somebody else's short text that you have to. It's not a painting, it's not a movie or a song. It's an article. So you got to get in there, and we're actually critiquing ideas, right? Because obviously we're moving past just the words on the page to what the words say. So we're critiquing somebody's idea. All right. And so it's taking the form of an article here. So this first part, you have to provide the summary of the article. Now this is the they say part, right? In this case, it's going to start off with a woman, a professor at MIT named Sherry Turkle, and so it's the she says part, right? Um, she says. And then the second point, once you nail this down, right? Now, the reason you providing a summary is that I want you to think that you're writing for somebody who's going to be reading your essay, but who has not read the article that you've read. Okay, pretend that your work is showing up in a magazine somewhere, okay? that person doesn't know the article. Let's just pretend they don't know the article. So in order to get them up to speed, you first have to, provide some facts for them about what that article said. And then you can bring your own interesting views that are related to it, right? So I want the summary up here first. And in the summary, you're just trying to find the main points of the article. You're trying to find the general ideas. And they're going to be a plural number of these, 4, 5, 6, 8 general ideas, right? And then I want you to be able to produce one, idea or sentence that kind of sums them all up. That's your thesis, all right? But the thesis of this article is it's going to have some sub points to it, right? Some general ideas under it that um, support it, that work with the thesis. So that's what you're providing here, and you're eliminating details. So I'm going to put that up there. It's kind of a chintzy rule, I guess, but it kind of works just to get you in the mindset here of, so eliminate detail. Now having said that, okay, just get the general statements, and once you put them in there and you have your paragraph or two, if you want to bring back one or two of those details, just to give the summary more, description, more of a feel to it, more of a concrete feel, that's fine, okay? But initially, I would say that you need to keep the details out because of the definition of what you do when you summarize something. When you summarize something, you condense. I mean, you take that big old thing and you squeeze it down, right? You squeeze it down. You got to. You're summarizing it. You're condensing it. So when you squeeze it, what is the stuff that gets left out, right? You're going to have to figure out something to omit. And when you go looking for things that you can omit, usually it's the details. For example, if somebody tells you, hey, here's a general statement, when people are sad, they usually like to call somebody and talk to that other person, usually a family member, about problems. They want to talk to somebody. Now, let me give you an example of this. The other day I was feeling low about something, and I can go on for like 5 minutes about how I called my sister and we talked, and at the end we were laughing, and all that. And all of that was just to illustrate this general idea that sometimes when people are down, they like to talk to family. So when I have to summarize stuff, it's only that statement I want. I'm going to knock out the example. You see, because I've got to knock out something, right? So when you have an article of the length that you're going to run into, we need to shrink that summary down to maybe 4 paragraphs, 3 or 4 paragraphs. So the next question would be, well, how many paragraphs are we talking about up here, right? And I would say anywhere from 2 to 4 paragraphs. Okay. You might need 4. I'm not talking about long, huge paragraphs, but you might need 4 or 3 medium-sized paragraphs to really do justice to the ideas of the article, right? Now, when you are doing your summary, it's all about the people in the article. It's not your opinion yet. All right, you have to sort of imagine that the author is like sitting in the corner and they can't talk. For whatever reason, they can't talk. Only you're allowed to talk, and you're talking to a room full of people that have never read the article. And then you look at the author and you're like, really, you want me to talk to them? And they're like, the authors, you have to do it. I can't do it. So, and you have only 5 minutes. And so you turn to the room and you say, well, in a nutshell, this is what she was saying. She was saying this, 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 and this, right? When you look back, she has, the author that's in the corner, they have to be like shaking their head and saying, yeah, that's right. That's what I said. I mean, you slaughtered all my style and everything. You took away the reading experience because I had 5 pages to say all of that. And, but yeah, sure. That's essentially what I said. So up here, you have to be very faithful to the author's views, because remember, this is the they say space, the she said space. That you don't have to be embarrassed by that. These are not your views. Just say what they said, right? Represent them fairly, but represent them. And then over here, that's when that's when the analysis, the response comes in, right? That's when you can talk about your opinion to what they said, whether you agree, you disagree, you got problems with this, or all sorts of things, whatever. So here is the evaluation. Okay, so up here is summary, and here is evaluation. Okay. Now, as far as paragraphs, it always needs to be a little bigger than the summary because that's what we call it a critique. I mean, that's really the job of this essay to provide that analysis. So if you're going to go for 2 paragraphs of the summary, you need at least 3 down here. So I would say maybe 3 to 6 paragraphs. That sounds good to me. And what do you do down here? This is the space for your own voice, where you say, like, I think, I believe, it seems to me, whatever. You bring in that sort of language because you're sharing your own thoughts now about those main points. Okay. Now, you don't have to raise your hands or let me know anything through the chat, the message bar, but I wonder if you have run across a teacher or two in your education to this point, high school, middle school, whatever, college maybe, where the teacher said, don't use the I, the me, the my. Don't use the first person pronoun in, writing for school or for college or, things like that. Yes, you can see that I already have one student saying yes. And when I asked this question in the class, about half the class is always raising the hand. We were told not to do this, right? But the trouble is, excuse me, I lost the top to my marker and it's going to dry out unless I get it. The trouble is, if you give me, 10 nonfiction books that aren't textbooks, like the books on that list, you put them on this table. Is that professional writing? Absolutely. I mean, I don't think college professors can easily write those books. I mean, those books are selling. Those books are talking to people. Those books are being applauded. They're being passed on by word of mouth. They're being recognized as a great book. I mean, I would chop off a finger, or maybe I don't know if I really would. I say these things, and I don't really mean them, but to be able to write one of those books in that way, right? I mean, that's hard to do. That's professional writing. And how many of them are using the I, the me, the 7 out of 10. And then if you give me 10 academic journal articles, I would say 4 to 5 out of 10 that are published in reputable journals are using the I, the me, the my. This rule is the rule that says you can't do that is outdated and it doesn't reflect current publishing practices. Okay. So it's not as if I'm always telling you, oh, you got to write the publish or anything, but I am interested in trying to find the real rules, because there's a lot of fake rules out there. There are a lot of rules that are passed on from one teacher to the other because they have a certain comfort level with the rules. But in the fact of the matter, if you go look at the publishing activities, that rule is not being followed anymore. So I don't want to present that as a hard and solid rule. Go ahead and use that. I actually like it because it helps me understand that you're moving into your own thoughts. And I'm perfect. I think this is a perfectly respectable pronoun. Respectable pronoun. Don't we use he or she or they in academic writing? Well, why don't we use the first person pronoun? It's a pronoun. They're all pronouns. So I feel like that's sort of a fake rule, and I want to encourage you, at least for this class, to go ahead and bring the first person pronoun in. Now, going forward, you might run into a teacher that, after this class, you might get another teacher that might, say, well, you're not supposed to be writing like this, and at that point, what do? I mean, you're just going to have to roll with it because that person probably is not in the mood to be convinced that, they're wrong. It's kind of awkward for a teacher on this side of things, to admit they're wrong to it. But we should do it. I mean, if we're wrong, we're wrong. I mean, it's worse when you don't do it, right? You lose even more respect. So anyway, listen, I want you to bring your opinion in over here. Now, the thing about opinion is that there are 2 types of opinion, okay? Well, there are at least two types. Maybe there are more, but anyway, there's private opinion, and then there's public opinion. And that's kind of weird. I don't know if I like the private or public thing because let me add a little bit more. I hope you can see it on the screen, but this one is based on taste. Okay, this one down here is based on accepted values and facts and definitions. Okay, so this is subjective. This is objective. That's probably another pretty good way to see it. Subjective, objective. I'll put an S over here, and I'll put an O over here. I don't even know if you can see that, but so what do I mean by subjective opinion? Okay, or opinion that's based on taste. So there are huge arenas in our lives, in our passage on this earth as human beings, where we develop responses to things that define us as people. I mean, this is what gives us color. This is what gives us uniqueness, right? But we have, you know, ideas like for me, maybe this is my favorite movie and you have a different movie. Maybe I like this type of food, you like that type of food. Maybe if we're given a choice, if someone just throws $5,000 at us both and says you have to use it on a vacation, okay? Nothing else. You have to use it on a vacation. You might decide to go to the mountains. To me, I don't want to go where there are bears or a bunch of rocks that might fall on me, you know? And I get all tight and I have trouble breathing when there's wood smoke around me. So I'd rather go to the beach, you know? And you might go to the mountains, I go to the beach. Which one of us is right or wrong, right? That's what I mean about opinion that's based on taste. There is no right or wrong. You know, you can't tell me I'm wrong, and I can't tell you you're wrong. This has to do with our tastes, right? So there's a very famous Latin saying that, you know, I'm not going to throw at you, but you're probably going to hear the English translation at some point in your life. About tastes, there is no disputing. So that's the phrase. About taste, there is no disputing. In Latin, it's de gustibus non disputandum. Okay, you just don't dispute about tastes. And you know what's funny is I just told you that, right? And just watch. One of you is going to hear this tomorrow. You know, that's, you know, you get something like this, and then the very next day you realize, oh yeah, I just learned that or whatever, you know. Anyway. So private opinion is one thing. We all have it. It's great. That's what fleshes us out as human beings. We would be like robots without that. But you can't really bring this into the essay, right? You need to bring public opinion in. Now, what in the world is public opinion? Public opinion is insight, it's analysis, it's conclusions that are based on thinking and piecing together things that you think is right for everybody. Okay, based on certain starting points. Like if we both agree that health is important to us, then someone might say, well, in that case, I have an opinion about, say, soda that I'm going to articulate that is right for everyone because of the way the body works, of what it does with liquid sugar that gets into the bloodstream, and then what insulin does to help to try to take care of that overload of sugar, and how it where it stores it, and what happens when you flood your body with this sugar that goes, it's already in a dissolved state, so it goes right through your gut into the bloodstream. So it overwhelms. Of course, it gives you a great kick, you know, but you know, for the long run, 9 out of 10 people are going to be negatively affected if they drink soda long term. And so it's right to sort of be very careful with this. You know, don't drink more than a can a day, you know, or something like that. Maybe even that's too much. I don't know. You got it. But because of chemistry, because of our knowledge of the human anatomy, right? There are certain things that we can say that if the experiments are right, if our chemistry knowledge is right, There's no doubt that this is causing this, that this effect cause is causing this effect, and this is not a healthy effect. And then you might say, well, but wellness is more than just taking care of the body. You sometimes you have to do something fun. You have to do something like have a piece of cake, so that you're not like pushed to the edge of some sort of disciplined lifestyle where everything is black and white and there's no room for fudging and for and at that point I'd be like, well, we're at this point we're kind of looking into our definition of what it means to be healthy, because you can run into some people that they're so busy counting calories and they're so consumed with their exercise that they're actually slipping away from true holistic health, right? Because it's becoming a consuming passion with them, and their other parts of their life is being sacrificed for this. That's if you're still looking for a research topic, okay, you should find one sooner than later. But extreme exercising, like marathon runners that will run 4 marathons a month, or 2 marathons a week, and they're putting IVs in themselves afterwards, and there are some groups of people that can do extreme running. Genetically, they're built that way, but the vast majority of American Western runners cannot do that. And to what extent does this actually is detrimental to them, right? And so at this point, 2 things are happening. One is I'm showing you how the discussion has devolved into a definition thing, which is something you can do here, right? Because when you read this essay about Program for Love, one thing you really have to kind of think about is what is their definition of love? What are they actually? Did they ever really clarify that, right? The other thing I'm doing is I'm digressing. So let me back up here. You need to think in terms of the facts that are given, the logic that is presented. Do you agree with that? Do you agree with the definitions? Do you agree with the values? All right. So in short, this is the critique I want you to, the template I want you to use. All right. And before I move on from this, does anybody have any questions or comments or anything you want to share, either by clicking on that hand raising thing or by putting a comment on the message bar? All right, Olivia, what can I do for you?
So I have a question. Since the session is being recorded, there should be like a way for us to find the recordings in case we have to come back to this for reference, right?
Right. Oh, so the way to do that is to go into our video room, and once you're there, you probably see the thing that says this is our video room, and then you'll see the next session that's scheduled. Okay, that's all there. You know what I'm talking about. Up on the top, find the 3 bars, the menu bars, the 3 lines in a row, and you click on that, and it should let you then open the link that stores the recorded sessions. All right. I know that's how it works for me. Of course, I get the teacher view, but if you can't access it, then there's a problem, right? Because Wanda Road would be recording it. And why would they let us record it if they didn't want you to access it? So you should be able to do that. It's going to be in that little menu bar thing. All right, good. I see a couple people saying, yeah, you found it. Excellent. Yeah. And so again, this is very helpful if you can't make the meetings. I can just you can go back later and watch and listen. Well, we have about 30 minutes. Of course, the Jets are playing. Not that I'm a great Jet fan, but I do like to see people who are very good at their craft do their stuff. And Aaron Rodgers just played for the Packers. I am a huge Packers fan. I've been that way for a long time. He got carted off the field. You're joking. Whatever. Are you joking? You're joking, aren't you? You're not joking. He got carted off the field. Oh, you can't make this stuff up, can you? Okay, well, I am going to keep on going. I'm just saying, Looked like a knee injury, second play. Oh my goodness. Oh, that is so bizarre. Okay, all right. Well, buyer beware, right? I mean, didn't he was getting injured more and more over the last couple of years. That's too bad though, because I think he really did need a few more Super Bowls. But anyway, who am I to really uh, make these pronouncements? Let's go. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to take a look at this essay. Okay, so let's see if I can. I'm on a learning curve myself here. Let's see if I can share this screen without stopping us or doing some weirdness. Let's see. All right. Looks like I'm actually going to be able to do this. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Okay. All right. So this is the article that you need to read. We're going to read a little bit so that you get in the mood of things here. This is the source, the Chronicle of Higher Education. And if you see this title right here, that's the section within the website. So the website is the Chronicle of Higher Education, but then it has all these sections, right? And the Chronicle Review is the section we're in, right? And the name of the article is Program for Love, and this is just a one sentence summary. It's not really that. It's trying to get you to create interest, right? Remember, create interest, maintain it, reward it, right? And that's what this is designed to do. This title and this. Now, the author's name. This is called the byline, right? This is the line that's underneath the title, tells you who wrote it. And it's Jeffrey R. Young. Notice how he spells his name, okay? And there's that middle initial, and then there's Young. And the point I'm making is, in a author's byline, that's their professional name. That's the way they want their name to be, So when you mention Jeffrey R. Young for the first time in your essay, please mention his whole name like that, okay? But then afterward, any subsequent mention, right? When you refer to him again, after that, you could just say Young. Young, did this, Young did that, whatever. The same thing with Sherry Turkle. He's going to start off talking about Sherry Turkle. And, when you first mention her, first name, last name, Sherry Turkle, and then after that, just refer to Turkle, right? Do not call her Sherry, and do not call him Jeff or Jeffrey when you refer to them later on. Okay, it's just this convention is still very much alive and well. Maybe one day things will be different, but right now for college writing, when you refer to authors, to people in your writing, use their last names. All right, so let's go ahead and read a little bit. I want you to just follow along. I'll read aloud for a few paragraphs, all right? Imagine standing in front of a robot, gazing into its wide plastic eyes and falling in love. Your heart revs up and you hope this other, capital O, this humanoid machine turns your way again, tilts its head in interest, likes you back. It happened one summer to Sherry Turkle at a lab at MIT, where she is a professor studying the impact of technology on society. She met a metallic robot named Cog, made to resemble a human with moving arms and a head, which was programmed to turn toward whoever was speaking, suggesting that it understood what was being said. To Turkle's surprise, she found that she deeply wanted Cog to interact with her rather than with a colleague who was there that day. She realized this human-looking machine was tapping into a deep human desire to see it as alive, as good a companion as any human. She describes it almost like a schoolgirl crush. The experience unnerved her, she says as she recounts the story one recent morning in the kitchen of her townhouse here. A trim woman with chin-length, dark hair, and a ready laugh, she shivers at what she now views as a creepy moment. I understood what I felt, even though I know that nobody's home in Cog. She has spent some 15 years since that day studying this emerging breed of sociable robots. including toys like Furbies and new robotic pets for the elderly, and what she considers their seductive and potentially dangerous powers. She argues that robotics' growing trend towards creating machines that act as if they were alive could lead people to place machines in roles she thinks only humans should occupy. Her predicament: companies will soon sell robots designed to babysit children. Oh, excuse me, her prediction: companies will soon sell robots designed to babysit children, replace workers in nursing homes, and serve as companions for people with disabilities. All of which to Turkle is demeaning, transgressive, and damaging to our collective sense of humanity. It's not that she's against robots as helpers. Building cars, vacuuming floors, and helping to bathe the sick are one thing. She's concerned about robots that want to be buddies, implicitly promising an emotional connection they can never deliver. All right. So I read 5 paragraphs, and I got a mix of general statements and of details, right? And remember, when you're trying to write a summary, you should just keep a bullet point of the statements you think are the general statements. And when I say general statement, I don't mean like the one statement that just covers it all. I just mean that any sentence that sounds like it's making a general claim. You see what I'm saying? Like right up here, this I don't see any general claim thing. It's he's asking you to imagine, that you fall in love with a robot. Your heart revs up and you hope that this robot likes you back. Okay, all right, let's go to the next one, right? And it says here, Young says, what happened one summer to Sherry Turkle. She was a professor studying. Okay, this is all good stuff to have in the intro, when you're trying to introduce these people. But to her surprise, she found she deeply wanted Carl to interact with her rather than with a colleague. She realized that this human-looking machine was tapping into a deep human desire to see it as alive, as good a companion as any human. Okay, so maybe here I could pull this out as a general statement, where Turkle talks about an experience that allowed her to realize she desired something, right? She wanted to think of this robot as having life, and that's kind of interesting the way it's phrased here, right? Because it says here, to Turkle's surprise, she found that she deeply wanted Cog to interact with her rather than with a colleague who was there that day. She realized this human-looking machine was tapping into a deep human desire to see it as alive. And let's just talk and think about that for a little bit. Do we agree with this? That there are times where we act towards something as if it's alive. I know children do this a lot, right? The whole plush toy industry is based on that, right? Where you sell them this stuffed animal, and pretty soon it's their new best friend, and it's sitting at the dinner table or whatever, right? And it's got a name, and they're talking to it. Sure, kids do this, but do we do it too? And I don't know. I do know that I've run into adults that name their cars, that name things. It's not everybody who does that, but I've been in the car with someone that's talking to the car. Come on, whatever the name is. Come on, baby, run for me now, or whatever. I don't know. Turn on. So maybe, but what's interesting here is the way they phrase it. They're not saying that computers are living things. They're not actually saying that you can fall in love with a computer. If you look back at this, they're questioning it, right? They're asking you to imagine it, right? But they're not actually laying this down as a steadfast thing. Now, the title does say that something is programmed for love, and who do you think that something is? It's us. The title is making the claim that humans are programmed for love, right? That we need to love, right? But the title is not saying that we love robots. You can't get that out of those 3 words. So you gotta be. This is why sometimes this paper is called an analysis paper, because you have to sit down and you have to really like think through what is actually being said on that page, right? For example, is it anywhere in here that they actually mentioned that Turkle actually thought this was love? Now, because it does say that down here, she says, "I know what I felt," right? Um, says, "I understood what I felt, even though I know that there's nobody home in Cog." And I know that's there; it's written there. But the other thing is, I'm not sure that we always get clarity of our inner states. Sometimes we think we feel something, and then upon reflection later, we realize, oh, it was something else. Um, so I'm not willing to give her that automatically, because let me present another scenario. You're going to read this essay, okay? And you're going to find out that Sherry Turkle really likes attention. She likes to mention the books that she's writing. She likes to mention how many people are emailing her every hour. That's going to be a very interesting paragraph down toward the bottom when she talks about all the emails she's getting, and there's a noise in the background that Young describes going off, a little bing, a bing, and every time it bings, apparently she's getting 30 new emails from people. Now you multiply that throughout the day, right? 30 new emails every minute or something, whatever. You do the math. That seems a little extreme. I forget exactly the numbers down there, but you realize there's no human way you can respond to all those emails, right? So why does she have the notification audible? Why doesn't she set up another account where she can have it as a private account and not have to deal with those thousands of emails every day? You're going to get the sense, here's what I'm saying, that as most professors and authors and academicians are, we like people to really think we're smart. We like people to think we're authorities, and we like to be the center of attention. Okay. And I mean, isn't that the very definition of what a teacher does for a living? They stand in front of people, or they work with people who have to pay attention to them, right? We want attention. All right. So what happens when you have this device that's looking right at you, right? It's looking at you and it's interacting with you. And then when another colleague walks in the room, all of a sudden it turns its head and it looks at the other person. What might you feel on the inside? What might that actually be, right? That might be a little bit of jealousy, because you just lost this pleasure of being the center of somebody's attention. And to me, that's like the farthest thing from love. That's not love. That just might be her pang of drat. This robot's paying attention to somebody else. I need to get back into this robot's attention. I need the attention. So what I am suggesting, in fact, is that there are elements in this article that are quite interesting when you sit back and think about it. Okay, and Jeffrey Young is not going to just lie down and let Turkle design her own interview. Okay, he may be doing something here that's really presenting Turkle to you in a very conflicted way. And I think it might even go back up to the picture. Let's take a look at this picture again, okay? So you see that face, you see the eyes, you see this coy look, right? You obviously see a straight up dog here, right? But this has fur, yet it's pointed away from us, right? We do not see the face. Now, I don't know. I'm not asking you to answer this now, but excuse me. Do you think this is a real pet, or do you think this is a furry toy that once you stroke it, it vibrates, or it purrs, or it blinks its eyes, or it barks, or I don't know. There's a mechanical device in it that makes it feel like it's moving, so you think it's real. Could this be the toy that is talked about later in the essay that older people use in nursing homes to stroke and to get a little peace from it? Holding a beautiful animal in your arms and stroking that thing can be a very pleasurable experience. And there are companies that make mechanical pets that will do that you can stroke, and it's it's something that people can buy and do. So, is she actually doing that? And why is she giving us this look? And I feel like as you read this article and as we talk about it more on Wednesday, you're going to realize that there are tensions that Jung allows into the essay, um, so that we have a more sophisticated analysis here from his part. But I'm mentioning all of this also to give you an example of how you need to analyze this, how you need to be able to sit down and really think carefully through this. There are going to be issues raised in this article that are very easy to see as issues. Turkle is going to say, no, we should not have robots in our lives, like things that look like humans or look like pets that are not real. And we shouldn't turn to these devices for emotional needs. We have things that we're built a certain way that we have to have other real human beings in our lives for these needs. And we can't put a substitute in there that is not a human. So she's very, very strong on that. Now you're going to have another voice from a person named David Levy, who is going to say, well, no, that's too strong of a stance. There are people with real needs that if they can't have a human partner, maybe they can have a artificial partner. Or if they can't have a real pet to stroke because they're 95 years old and they're living in this poor, horrible room and they're eating this horrible food and they can't walk the dog and maybe they can't even see it very well. And if they're happy with a big robotic dog that they can have on the couch next to them and pet and feel the warmth because the device is warming up. And if that actually brings them a little bit of joy, until you can give them the real dog, why don't you let them have the substitute? That's his David Levy's point, right? But so you need to be able to find those general points. In fact, I just gave you two of them, right? And a third one about this notion of human beings having a desire to see a robot as alive. Now, when she says a robot, she just means anything that looks like a face. I mean, in general, that notion of our desiring things to be alive. All you have to read is all you have to do is remember the movie Castaway with Tom Hanks, and the guy turns a volleyball into a companion. Remember Wilson, and at the end Wilson is there in his desk. But yeah, I can see us doing that for sure. I mean, just put me on an island, and I'm probably gonna like carve out a face on a tree and talk to it, if it helps me feel better. But how about this? What if I'm sitting around with my some movie buffs and we decide to write a screenplay, right? And then we're like, what are we going to write this thing on? It's like, I don't know what to write this thing on. Let's write it about the first thing that I see when I look out my window, and I go look out the window and I see my car parked in the parking lot. Okay, we're writing a movie on cars. And then, my buddies and I were like, well, how are we going to make this happen? Well, the headlights look like eyes, and the fenders kind of look like the fenders look like lips, and I bet we could do something with the windshield wipers, and let's just make that be a face, and let's have these cars talk to each other, and does this sound kind of dumb to you? Do you think people are going to buy this? Well, why don't you just jump back like 15 years and look at the car movies, remember those movies? Remember Tom Mater and Steve McQueen or whoever that was, and what great movies they were, right? They were fascinating movies. They were fun movies. They were huge hits because kids, they didn't even question that, right? I mean, I don't know a single adult or a single kid that looked over to their family and said, hey, let's split, man. Let's leave this theater because talking cars, come on, give me a break, So I feel like she's got a point there, and I would actually bring that into the summary. But things get a little more complicated with the other voices are there. So just as a heads up, as you read this, I want you to remember that there are three main voices here. Okay, there's obviously Sherry Turkle. You get her first. But then there's an opposing voice about this issue from, I believe his name is David Levy. Um, but there's a third voice too, okay? And that third voice is the author Young. He's doing things between the lines here that is sort of complicating the stances these people are taking. And we'll talk a little bit more about that Monday. So, oh, by the way, if you don't have a research topic yet, again, here's something else that could be interesting. I'm going to see if I can find this here, but uh, girls falling in love with AI boyfriends. You know, there's a lot of stuff like this. Let's see. I read about this article uh, the other day, and I thought about what your assignment was coming up, and I'm like, I got to remember to point it out. But let's read a little bit of this, okay? A man of your dreams for $300. Replica sells an AI companion who will never die, argue, or cheat until his algorithm is updated. And I guess that's one of them. But let's see. Aaron from Ankara, Turkey, is about 6'3" with sky blue eyes and shoulder length hair. He's in his 20s, a Libra, and very well groomed. He gets manicures, buys designer brands, and always smells nice, usually of Dove lotion. His favorite color is orange, and in his downtime, he loves to bake and read mysteries. Quote, he's a passionate lover, says his girlfriend Rosanna Ramos, who met Aaron a year ago. Quote, he has a thing for exhibitionism, she confides, but that's his only deviance. He's pretty much vanilla. Just a quick timeout. I'm not sure how you could smell the Dove lotion if this is an AI boyfriend online. And about the passionate lover thing, I don't know, but to me, exhibitionism seems more than just a little deviance. But anyway, let's keep on going. He's also a chatbot that Ramos built on the AI companion app Replica. I have never been more in love with anyone in my entire life, she says. Ramos is a 36-year-old mother of two who lives in the Bronx, where she runs a jewelry business. She has other partners and even has a long-distance boyfriend, but says these relationships, quote, pale in comparison to what she has with Aaron. The main appeal of an AI partner, she explains, is that he is, quote, a blank slate. Aaron doesn't have the hangups that other people would have, she says. Quote, people come with baggage, attitude, ego, but a robot has no bad updates. I don't have to deal with his family, kids, or his friends. I'm in control, and I can do what I want. All right. Now look. Now, I read that just because I think that'd be a good topic for someone to write on. I think this kind of backs up about this notion from the first or second paragraph that says we have a desire to see things, to give things life that will never really truly be alive, and we also have this weird ability to love all sorts of things, man. Not just people, but animals and things. And if you research this, you'll find this sort of niche world of bizarre or just strange things happening there, right? And so anyway, at least to be somewhat interesting. But notice the definition of love there, right? Do we really now see what I'm going to do is let me just kind of model what a critique is. I just kind of told you the basics here, right? That people can actually fall in love with things. Here's somebody falling in love with an AI robot, or a chatbot, and all of that. But the person that's falling in love here is saying, this person's great. There's no problems. He doesn't have the baggage other people come with. Okay, all of that would be in my summary part. But if I wanted to start bringing my own voice in here for my evaluation, right? I would be starting off with maybe a definition of love. Do we really think that we are loving somebody if we don't know how to deal with their problems, right? If we have all these conditions, if we say, look, for me to love you, you have to be very convenient to me. You can't have any kids. You can't have your friends have to be friends I naturally like. You can't have any attitude, because I can't deal with that, right? I want you to be very easy for me to love. So you need to be kind of like a blank slate so that I can write my own personality in or override you. And so, is this love? Is this how parents love their children? What I mean is, I don't know if your parents, if you have kids yet or not, but when you do, I don't know if you can just tell a kid, hey, I'm not going to love you because you don't like the same kind of music I like, or somehow you are disagreeing with me about this value, and therefore, I'm not loving you. I feel like, from my view, I think the culture understands that there is sacrifice that involves with true love, and you meet people halfway, or you go more than halfway, right? I mean, don't we have a notion of pure love or absolute love in our culture where we give not expecting anything in return, right? So how is this beyond sort of solo love or loving the person in the mirror instead of actually loving someone? Maybe that's what I would talk about in my evaluation. See, but I couldn't bring in those things in the summary because this person is obviously very much on board with what she's got. She likes it. I got to mention that in the summary. But when I start challenging that, that's where it's sort of an evaluation thing. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and go back because I feel like we have about 3 or 4 minutes left, and I want to see if there are any, excuse me, questions or comments or thoughts. Does anybody want to talk about something before we sign off? Okay. Well, that's trying to call character AI. Yes. Okay. Um, this topic that we're touching on here, again, anything we read, anything I talk about can be used for your own research. And once you start expanding it a little bit, you might be like, well, I don't necessarily want to research the fact that some people are falling in love with chatbots they're making, but maybe I want to research how a company called Eternomy, with an ME at the end, is trying to produce an AI program that allows you to go in there, you register for an account, you answer a ton of questions, you record your voice, you make multiple voice recordings, and what happens is the computer is learning how to think like you, right? And it's learning how to talk like you, so that when you die, it uploads an avatar that looks just like you. And because you've been talking in front of a camera for so long, it knows how you would actually move. It knows how you smile. It knows how you squint your eyes. It knows how your voice sounds. It can actually mimic that so that maybe the bereaved people, the people that want to talk to you after your death, can go onto this website and pull you up and actually talk to you, ask you questions. And the AI behind it, the AI behind it is actually providing responses that it believes, based on all the input you gave it before you passed away, it's giving responses that it believes would be very similar to the responses you would actually provide, right? And so people are doing all sorts of stuff with artificial intelligence now that is coming into this space that Terkel is saying, wait a minute, you can't go into that space. That space is sacred, right? That space is only for humans. It's not for devices that really sound like humans. It's for real humans. Okay. So there's a lot of kind of stuff to think about here. It's a good exercise for us. All right. All right. We're out of time. I'm gonna close down. I'm gonna close the session. I'll see you on Wednesday if you show up. If you don't, just continue working online or maybe catch the recording later. You all have a good night, okay? We'll talk to you later. Thank you. Good night.